look at this. Look at the battling, and it is a safety car. Here comes Mika into Stoke corner. Whoa! Almost. And away we go here in the Netherlands for moving down towards the next couple. Oh, it is! Oh my god! Whoa! Bit of a season as Nolo wins in Monza for FRLT Tier 1 of 4. And right beneath! Oh, he goes! Hello, and welcome to FRLT Season number 5, and it's time for assists, round number 13. By the way, before anybody does say, yes, I have seen on the thumbnail it says Japan for COTA. I do apologise. That is something that I only noticed when Joe Eliminator said it. So that is my bad, I will say. But I can confirm it is COTA this week. As you can see, 5.513 kilometers, 3.425 miles, 20 turns, 2 DRS zones down the pit straight, and down that long main straight / back straight. That is where it is. Looking at the calendar, we've gone through almost every single race now. 12 races. We've gone from Monza, Mexico, Brazil, the Netherlands, mystery race, Hungary, Imola, Great Britain, another mystery race, Japan, Belgium, Saudi Arabia, and this week for the finale we come to COTA, the final race of the season. I know it's crazy to have already reached this point. Already, final race of the season. It's unbelievable how quickly this season has gone by. I'm going to say, especially the last about 5, actually I'd say probably the last 8 rounds have gone incredibly quickly. So it's very interesting to see that. I know a couple of drivers are having some problems with joining, which is not great that they're having a couple of problems with joining into the lobby. But it seems to come down to, it seems to be coming down to possibly server problems. So we're going to be waiting a couple more minutes. So we've got a little bit of time. Well, I've got a little bit of time to yap about absolutely anything possible. Definitely gonna yap about anything. So we'll be readying up in about 3 minutes' time. Sorry about the massive amounts of clicking. But let's have a look at the standings while we're at it. As you see, SKG, not the best of races last race, ending a very strong streak for them. Only up to 213 points, only gaining those 10 points last week. So wasn't perfect. Then, on top of that, EVR take a good chunk out of SKG, still in the championship battle. 30 points behind. They're 36 points behind. They're just in the championship, by the way. They're 34 points behind, sorry. I cannot do maths today. I don't know what is wrong with me. I cannot do maths, but they're 34 points behind in the championship. Then SET follow behind. They're out officially. They are out of the championship, which means SET, they had a strong race, but it wasn't what they needed. Then PR, they won't be racing tonight. Sadly, PR is not going to be racing this evening out of the finale. So 12 races in, and that is it. They haven't been able to get a lineup for tonight, which means they will end their season on 128 points, and not the strongest of finishes to their season. P11 and P15, bit of a tough race in COTA. Then AERT, another victory, back-to-back victories for AERT, and brings themselves up into 5th in the Constructors. AZR as well, double DNF. Their luck has been terrible. 1 podium and tons of DNFs now in the last 6-7 races, and it's just not going their way at all this season. What has looked like to be a clear 5th or possibly even 4th in the Constructors just has not gone their way at all. LR as well, only 2 points scored, not the best of finishes for them, only up to 72 points. V&V though, with a strong 4 points at the end of their evening, bringing themselves up to 55 points. They're most likely sealed in that 8th place in the Constructors. Of course, no AB since they shut down. UFRT though, P2 finished their one and only podium so far this season, and their biggest points haul on those, of course, brilliant 16 points. Plus, I believe that point for pole as well, so bringing them up 17. So they're up into... they are still 10th in the Constructors, but they are back into a chance to take 9th in the Constructors at least, which would be incredibly entertaining if we were to see that out in the final race. The team that has been dead last for 90% of the season, 90-95% of the season has been, dead last. All of a sudden to go up and finish 9th in the Constructors, I think will be a bit of an end of season celebration for UFRT. I think they'll be massively celebrating that chance they've got. We're going to be getting ready about now to race. We've got 16 drivers in, which should be correct. All 16 drivers are in, and everybody's ready to go. So this is going to be interesting. Of course, we are missing ABE to begin with. They shut down, and also no PR tonight, which means we do only have 16 drivers. But essentially, we've got a full grid from those 8 teams. So this is going to be very interesting in COTA on how people are going to do. I'm very excited to see how everybody's going to do. This is the big thing for me. It's like, who are we going to see coming out on top tonight? Are we going to see SKG? They've got, are we going to see them claim their first assist championship, become only the 3rd team in 5 seasons to win the championship? Of course, AMS with that dominant hat trick of championships, season 2 to season 4. FG, of course, back in season 1. And will SKG become that 3rd team in season 5 to win the championship? Or are we going to see EVR pull out an absolutely unholy level of performance this season? Probably, maybe even their best race all season. They've only, I think, won 1 race this entire season. Are they just going to pull off an unholy level of a qualifying on a race, get 1-2, SKG have a bad day, and EVR take the championship out of the final race? I know SET is still in the chance to finish 2nd, so they've still got a bit of a chance there. I know that they can't win the championship, though, which, of course, for them, I think is disappointing. I think kind of after about round 6, round 7, they kind of fell out of the championship a bit. They dropped, I think, in one race. I think they dropped 15 points, I think, in one single race. And I think that was we saw them, they kind of started to disappear a little bit more back. A couple of poorer performances left them behind the pack. So we're going to have to see how it goes tonight, because it is a stacked grid, and I'll show you the stacked grid that we actually have for tonight, because it is incredibly stacked, as you can see. I'm bad in F1. That is possibly going to go down as one of the best names of the season. I am gonna point that out. That might go down as one of the best seasons. But we've got some really interesting drivers with some actually interesting names as well. Half Snow, of course, we've seen a lot this season. Running that TTRE name. We've got, I mean, this is the interesting one. We've got ART David. He raced in the first, I believe, if I'm correct, the first ever race of FRLT. First ever race. And I don't believe he's raced since Season 2 in FRLT. So it's been a long time. It's been over a year, if I'm correct, since he's raced. So he is on this grid, I can actually tell you, he is the most experienced driver in FRLT terms when it comes down to this grid, which is so surprising to see a driver from Season 1, round number 1, that first ever race, all the way back in January 2024. I know, guys, January 2024 was that first ever race so long ago. But absolutely brilliant to see that. But you can see I'm bad in F1, making his way around, also known as Frozen, making his way around. He's had quite a few good performances across both no assists and assists. He's been quite good in quite a lot of races, but he's had a couple of struggles as well. So it's not been exactly clear sailing. So he needs just a little bit more. He just needs a little bit more. And, you know, we'll see how he can do. And I'm really interested to see how EVR, SKG, and SCT are all going to perform tonight. But let's ride on board with Frozen. I'm going to call him Frozen because that is who he is. And into the final corner, throwing the car through. He says he's had no practice, so we'll have to see how he does. And starting off his lap, heading down this pit straight. Even though it looks quite long, it's actually a very short pit straight, about the same length as Monaco. Through into turn 1. Very tight hairpin-like corner. Now heading through turn 2. Now heading into the S section. This is one of the harder sections on the track because of track limits. You've got to get this right. But if you hook it up right, you get it really good. 24.548 is that first sector time. Now, oh, and a big wiggle off of the exit of the S section now. Heading down into another hairpin, the second of 4 hairpins on this track. I always say there's 4 hairpins in my opinion on this track, and he's just done the second one, and that was pretty clean. Opening that rear wing again with the DRS, heading down this main straight towards this hairpin-like corner once again. Back-to-back hairpin-like corners. You've got to get the car thrown in. It's a good amount of runoff as well, so you're able to really get the car out wide. Quite a wide bit of track there. 1 minute, 0.813 for the middle sector. Now heading into another hairpin. The fourth and final hairpin. Whoa, and again, oversteer, hitting that Sauber for Frozen. Making his way around now. Heading up towards the penultimate corner. Throwing the car through. Can he get it thrown through? Yes, he can. And now he's got to thread the needle through this final corner. Can he get it right? Yes, he can. Taking a lot of that inside curb and up to the line. It's a 1 minute 30.864 for the first time of the evening. And I've got to say, that is better than what we saw in no assists in the first runs. That is better by, if I remember correctly, by about 0.4 of a second out of the first runs. So very, very good lap from himself there. I've got to say big up to Frozen there for that first run. Very difficult to make that first run work. Zen is the next one coming round. He's on an out lap. Whoa, we got some crazy stuff happening. Janus Maybohm having a bit of a problem, but we do have Gervais not going to finish his lap properly because he's ultimately invalidated. He was 0.6 off anyway at the end of his lap. Tom as well, an invalidation for him, and he's very far away. Well, he's 0.3 off away from the lap times. It's Kaname coming across the line next. It's going to be Yanni Casares. He can only do a 31.275. And AG Wapo can only do a 31.4. English can only do a 32.3, so he's very far behind. 1.5 seconds off of the pace there of the fastest time. You saw SKG Balaz only do a 31.4, so he's also a good 0.6 away. So at the moment, Frozen very fast in his first run. I've got to give some big respect to that first run from him. Impressive first run from Frozen so far. He's looking very much ahead of the pack and where he needs to be. So we'll have to see how that goes. Man Steph, that's such a long name. I'm just going to call him Steph. Goes 5th, ahead of his teammate 31.8. So he's still a little bit behind in all of it. So still not perfect from himself. We look to Zen, making his way around. He's only done a 1:02 in that middle sector. That's over a second behind the fastest time at the moment. And across the line, you can see that it validated as well. 33.4 was the time at the end of the lap. So really, really far behind. Not where he needs to be. You can now see 2 more cars heading into the pits. I think we're looking to Kaname across the line. He goes P5 into a 31.7. So looking for where he was on the track. What number he was in the grid. So I could click it. But in the end, he's P5. Still sitting 9/10 away from Frozen off that first run. That's not where you want to be. At all. As a driver, you don't want to be so far behind. Like where he is at the moment. He's too far behind. 1 minute 1.1 on the dot set by Janus Maybone. So he is pushing for potentially P2 here. So he really is trying to get that P2. But he's definitely going to be competing for that P3 spot. The grid quite spaced out here in COTA, which is an interesting one. It's quite rare to see the grid being so incredibly spaced out. Quite a bit tonight as well. But across the line, Janus Maybone. 1 minute 30.882. And gets within 18 thousandths of Frozen. Half Snow as well. Goes P3 ahead of Yannick Casares and Balaz. This is exactly what EVR need tonight, is to be in front. They need to be in front to win this championship. They're 34 points behind in the championship. So at the moment, based off of where they would finish, I'll bring up the calculator. 213 plus that 11 plus that 10 would leave them on 234 points. But for EVR, remember, for EVR, their points, they're on 179 points plus the 1 for pole. Then if you also take into account, remember, you got to take into account one other thing. You got to take into account their lovely 18 points plus the other 13 brings them to 211. So they're still behind. But they do close up because it's 13 plus 18 plus 1. So 32 versus 21. So they close up by 11 points at the moment. I know, only 11 points and they're 34 points behind. So they're only going to be 23 points behind in the championship at the end of the season, which is, by the way, the closest end to the season. We've never had a season in FRLT go to the finale. I just want to point that out to everybody. We've never had a season go to the finale for us to see the championship, which is, it's a new thing to see. I've got to say, it's a very interesting thing that I quite like, you know, seeing how close this season has been. And I think the new point system as well, I know a lot of managers have had a problem with the point system. I have seen that quite a few managers do want the point system to be changed so it's not 18 points for a win. They want at least about 20 points for a win. But you can see this is what sort of scoring 18 points for first and 16 points for second does. It closes up the pack, and you know, we've never had a championship battle into the final race. And I think it's also a bit more punishing to teams as well. They can't reclaim as many points over their championship rivals as they would with the previous point system that we used for the previous 4 seasons. A standard F1 point system, except the one thing of adding a point for pole. So as a driver, you could score 27 points in a weekend, top of the 18 points for second. So, you know, there was always that problem that a team could score 45 points, but now of course they can only score 36. So we removed 9 points out of the equation. For first and second, we removed just 9 of those points. And next season, we're also going to be removing another point as well next season, which is going to be the fastest lap point, which is getting removed next season. Because it doesn't really prove to be that useful in the end. And across the line, Aiden goes P5. 31.3, still quite a large gap. I've got to say, still a very large gap between the drivers at the moment. Then we've got Zen coming round. Then we have Tom on his way round. 1 minute, 0.958. So still not as good as Frozen in that middle sector. Still about a tenth behind. But can we see that final sector? And he's sliding everywhere. The car's not happy with him as he goes P5 ahead of his teammate Aiden. That's a very, very good lap. And Frozen goes even faster to a 1 minute 30.742. He finds just over a tenth of a second to go even quicker. And I've got to say, that is a very strong lap time from himself there. Very, very good. I did not expect to see that, to be honest. We've got English coming up to line. Invalidated again. Only a tenth improvement, so still would have been last in the end. So not where they need to be at the moment on the grid. Bit of a car getting in the way at the moment. Half Snow making his way round to do his laps. We are going to be looking at Juro Weiss, and he's invalidated as well. So a bit of disappointment there. Steph as well invalidating. Lots of drivers invalidating. Mattia was, oh my god, so many drivers are actually invalidating, which is surprising. Yanni Casares also invalidates. So does Balaz. This is interesting. Most of the drivers now we've seen cross the line have actually invalidated their laps. Kaname is making his way round. You can see Wapo hasn't been able to put in a good enough lap. And across the line, Kaname goes to P7. Found over 0.3 of a second. So Balaz down to P8 now. And that is really hurting. Championship-wise, I think we've just seen Zen cross the line. He's still P12 and still last at the moment. But look at how many drivers have failed to complete a full lap. Have failed to actually finish their flying laps. It's incredible. I don't think I've ever seen this many drivers. Red Dragon as well. I'm still four drivers without a lap at the moment, by the way, on the grid. And in total, by my count, 11 of them have all invalidated on their second run. That amazes me, if I'm being honest. There goes Janus Maybohm as well. He would have gone fastest of all as well with that lap time. 1 minute 30.602 would have been enough, but in the end, it wasn't what he needed. Half Snow invalidating as well. Oh my god. Almost everyone has invalidated their middle runs. Like I said, it's only, I think, 4 or 5 drivers haven't actually invalidated. I think that makes it up to 13 drivers haven't invalidated. Because I know Tom, Aiden, and Kaname all finished their laps there. So Frozen finished his lap. Kaname finished his lap. Tom and Aiden all did. I don't think anyone else got their first run in their middle runs. I know English did a second. I know English didn't. Zen did a second run in his middle run, basically. And David across the line, he's just starting his lap as well. But, yeah, very interesting. Very, very interesting. At the moment, SKG shaping up in the championship. Not a good position. Not a good position that they're in at the moment. Much worse than what they were looking at earlier. They're only going to go up to 227 points. As it stands, by the way, 227 points is what they're going to be going up to. Of course, EVR still gaining those points brings them to 211, so they're only going to be 16 points behind in the championship based off of where they currently are. So this is a bit worrying because, of course, if Half Snow finds another position, right, that could be another 3 points. So instead of sort of 16 points being the gap, that will go down to 13 points based off of that. So for Balaz, the main thing he needs to do is not drop outside the top 10, not retire in this race. He really needs to not retire and drop 3 points because that just brings EVR closer. But this is going to be the closest championship finish we've ever had. But let's ride on board with Frozen on his final run, because Janus Maybohm has shown he can be the fastest on track, because we saw that invalidated run. It was a 30.6. So for Frozen, I think he'd be pretty safe if he did a 30.5 I think if he gets even a high 31.5, I think he'll be safe at the end of qualifying here to take that pole and to take that point. That one and only point you can get in qualifying. Get EVR up to 180 points this season. And that's invalidated from Frozen. He's invalidated. Has he got enough fuel? It looks like he does have enough fuel to do another run. So he might just be okay to do another run. That's surprising. I did not think he was going to be ready for that. Gerald Weiss, yet to finish a lap. He's invalidated both of his first 2 runs. Let's see whether can he do this final run and can he finish the lap in the end. It's big. This is the big question here. Can he actually do it? LR need big points tonight. They're wanting some big points. They've brought in Janez Maybaum, one of their best drivers, currently in P2, getting those 16 points, charging their way up at the moment. Would actually bring themselves, as it stands, in front of AZR in the championship. Would bring themselves up to that very nice 6th place in the constructors, which is an absolute brilliant comeback from last season where they only scored 12 points across the 10 races. And remember, guys, that was with the full F1 point system as well, including the point for pole as well to add on to that. So, you know, the possible 45 points to be scored each weekend, they only scored 12 in 10 races, which was, you know, they said was just pretty poor. But this season, they've had an absolute turnaround, 72 points now in 12 races. They're looking to make that a lot more points in this final race. They want to, at the moment, they'll be getting another 16. I mean, the fact that I've got to respect LR this season because they scored more points in the opening races. Oh, Gerard Weiss. Oh, my God. He has invalidated his lap on his final run. And I think that's all he's going to have. I don't think he has the fuel to go again. That is just very disappointing for himself. Very, very disappointing. Unlucky as well. Red Dragon making his way around. Let's see what he can do. Neither of the AZR drivers have actually finished the lap so far. A clean and full lap. Red Dragon is going to be pushing to finish his lap. Where is he going to go? He's going to go P10 and up into that top 10. Very good there for himself. We've got to look to Balaz, who's improving. And across the line, he goes P3, finding 0.4 of a second. Exactly what Balaz needed. Janez Maybaum has retired from the session. I think he has crashed on track, and that is disappointment for LR. That pole is now out of the window. As now, Mattia makes his way up to the line. He goes up to P12. He's found a bit more time. As Frozen goes to a 30.6. We've got to look to Aiden. Aiden goes P5, backed up by David, who couldn't finish his lap. Then Half Snow onto the front row. What a lap from himself. English has spun round. And Yanni Casares, he only improves by 6 thousandths and finishes P6. That's all he's been able to do. We're looking to the next driver. Tom onto the front row as he goes P2. What a lap to get onto that front row. I think we saw Kaname. He finished 8th in the end. Wapo went into the pits. And I think all we've got is Gerard Weiss, who goes P12. He's not going to be last at the end of the day. And then we have Zen finally and lastly, as he does finish 15th and last of the drivers who set a lap time. But it is Frozen on pole from start to finish. He has dominated qualifying. But AERT joining up on the front row. But for EVR, P1 and P3 exactly lined up where they want to be for the race. Exactly where they want to be. And SKG, a little bit out of place as well for them, as they are currently P4 and P6. So a bit out of place. But it's P5 and P7 in the end. P5 and P7, interesting. But Frozen is on pole position, followed by Tom in second. Half Snow in third. Yeah, that's Maybaum in fourth. Balaz comes in P5. Aiden Jones in P6. 7th is Yannick Casares. 8th is Kaname. 9th is Wapo. 10th is Red Dragon. Then it is Steph in 11th. Gervais in 12th. Then Mattia in 13th. English in 14th. Zen in 15th. And David in 16th and last for tonight's race. Whoa, what an end. What an end to qualifying there. I was on the edge of my seat there. I was thinking, will Janez Mayboom take a pole? Is there a chance he's going to take pole position away from EVR? You know, there was always, I think it was floating around there for a while that Janez Mayboom might take pole, you know, especially with that middle run where, yeah, he did invalidate, but he did a 0.6. And so it was a little bit worrying. But even in the end, Frozen still wasn't able to beat that lap time that Janez Mayboom set on his invalidated runs. So unlucky that in the end he did invalidate that lap. But in the end, LR are still going to be happy. Still P4 on the grid. Still on for 11 points. Still on at the moment to overtake AZR in the championship to finish in 6th. An absolute turnaround in their luck last season to this season. Definitely a brilliant midfield team, mid-pack team, I should really say. I've got to say, absolutely brilliant. Top class from a lot of the teams. Top class from some of the teams out there. Still, championship is on in this final race. The top two going head to head. SKG though, off of qualifying, on the back foot, and they're not in a bad place. They're still on for 15 points at the end of the evening, versus the currently 35. EVR could score 36 in total. They've scored 1 point, so they've only got 35 that they can score. They're currently on their way to score 31 of those points. No, my maths is failing me. Yeah, 31 of those points. They could get a 32nd if fastest lap comes in. You know, if they score fastest laps, they could score 33 points at the end of the evening currently. In their positions, maximum of 33 points at the end of COTA versus, of course, that 15 points. So that's still 18 points closed in on over this race. So it's still a big gap to close in on the championship leaders. I mean, that brings them down to 16 points gap. So it's very close still. Anything could happen. For SKG, the main thing here, they need to just get in front of EVR if they can and not make any mistakes. EVR need to not make any mistakes, finish 1-2, get the absolute maximum points they can. They did it in qualifying, they got that 1 point. They need to do it in the race so at least they can go, we left nothing on the table and there was nothing more we could do. We, of course, saw their 1-2 finish back in Qatar. They scored that 1-2 finish. They got those 2 top steps of the podium to themselves and a big points haul for them. Brought themselves back into the championship battle, by the way, out of Qatar. And I can hear we're about to get going for the finale. Here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And we are away for FRLT Season 5 Assist Round number 13, the finale. And it's a great getaway from Frozen as he makes his way into Turn 1. He's side by side with Tom. Tom fully battling him on the inside, as you can see. Both on the medium tyres. They're still going at it. Into the S section now. Battling side by side. Who's going to come out on top here? Tom is getting the inside now. Frozen is... Oh, that's a car off in the distance. Red Dragon has crashed into the wall. And that is that. And already the safety car is out. And that is not the best of starts. And for AZR, that is Red Dragon out already in their evening. Oh my god. What is going on here? Yannick Saris having a bit of a moment. He's had a bit of a moment of momentary lag, I believe. And he's down to P10. Well, he's had just a big moment there and people have been told to pass him, and he's down to P10 now, and he's lagging around. Really bad connection for Yanni Casares because he's outside of the top 10, so he's having some connection problems. But the worst part is now for SKG is they're only scoring 10 points now, so they've just dropped those other 5 points, so they're only scoring 10 points versus currently, as I said, the 30. What was it? They would score those 30, currently 32 points that EVR are on for. That's now 20. That's currently 22 points gained, and of course it's a 34-point gap. So they only need another couple points. I mean, if Half Snow can take that P2 and get those extra 3 points for P2, that brings it down a lot more. As now the drivers are going in. Are they going in? Are they going out? What are they doing? And ultimately, they stay out. Good attempt at a fake there. I generally thought they might be going in. But in the end, Yanni Casares has gone in. He's gone into the pits. Is he stopping or is he retiring? Let's see. He might be retiring. What is he changing for? He's changing for the hard tyre, so he's getting his pit stop out of the way very early. And talking about tyres, let's have a look at the tyres currently. Kaname and Mattia, and now Yanni will be the only drivers on the hard tyres. Everyone else on the mediums. Good start for Dave. Good start for David. Good start for David. Good start for Zen as well. Up to 3 places each. Yannick Casares down 8 already in this race. Good start for Wapo as well. Groston ahead of his teammate and ahead of Steph. So a lot of drivers going up the order, which is a positive. It is a positive for them. But for Frozen, he got a little bit scared into turn 1 by Tom. Tom got a very good getaway, and they had a good battle until, of course, Red Dragon went off into the wall and the safety car came out. So luckily for Frozen, he was able to stay in front of the AERT driver. AERT trying to claim a hat-trick of victories. They won round number 11 and round number 12. They're trying to win round number 13 and end the season with a hat-trick of wins. To become one of the only teams to actually achieve a hat-trick, by the way. AMS have the most hat-tricks out of any team. Their first came in Season 2 with round 4 to 6. They won 3 races then. They did it again in Season... I know they did it again in Season 3. I think they achieved... and in Season 4, they achieved 3 hat-tricks. I do believe, if I'm correct, unless I might be wrong about last season. I think they only did it in Season 2 and Season... they only did it in Season 2 and Season 3, where they achieved hat-tricks. 6 wins in 6 races. Very, very brilliant drives from the different drivers for AMS in those 2 seasons. Absolutely brilliant to see. I mean, to see the drivers achieve that sort of performance, to sort of have that sort of written down in history, I think, FG as well, another team to have their side to it as well. They also have a hat-trick. Not many other teams have hat-tricks. No other teams actually have hat-tricks, by the way. In FRLT, nobody else has hat-tricks. Just FG and AMS, the only 2 teams. Only 3 times has there been a hat-trick to a season, which surprises me. Only 2 teams have achieved it, and only 3 times across the... I'm trying to think how many races we've had of assists. We had 26, 36, 46. Of course, this is the 13th, so this is the 59th. 59th race of assists. I'm so surprised by that. I'm so surprised that this is the 59th race of assists. It's crazy to be getting so close to that 100th race as well. It's so surprising. It's just caught up so quickly. 20 races in the last 2 seasons. The previous 2 seasons we had 26 races, so it's closing up quite quickly now. But 59 races, and an incredible 19 of them have been won by AMS, by the way. Yeah, incredibly. 19 of them won by AMS. 6-1 by FG is now. The safety car is coming in this lap, as I very much thought it would, but it's coming very early. I have to say, they've still got a good sort of third of the track to go. They've got the entirety of this third and final sector to go, and you can see, look at Frozen, he's just really slowing down the pack. Really waiting, really making Tom nervous for when he's going to go. You could just see he's just crawling around the track. He knows he's in no rush. The person who is in a rush is, of course, Tom. He's going to be in a rush. He wants to get that race lead. We saw that on lap 1. But you can see just cruising around. When is Frozen going to go? This is the big question. When is he going to go? I can't even see the cars as they come around the bend. And now he's gone. And that is a very good restart from Frozen. He's been able to get away decently well there. It's enough of a gap that with slipstream and overtake alone, it won't be enough to catch Frozen down this pit straight. So he's been able to save himself for turn 1. You can see a lot of drivers very close to each other further back. You can see, look at this, heading down into turn 1. Here comes Jans Mayboom trying to go round the outside of Half Snow, but he's unable to, and he's going to have to sit behind. Remember, he was the guy who was chasing that pole position. You see further back, that's Yannick Casares, who's had a little bit of a moment with, I think that's English there, so a bit of a problem there. Look at him, he's trying to get round this UFRT driver as quickly as he can, but he's got a bit of a problem. They are really defending their position well, and he's really having to try and fight his way through. You can see he's only gotten ahead of David so far in the pack. He's only made up 1 place so far in the first sector. Here he comes now on English, heading down the inside, and that's a pretty easy move to get past the 2 slowest drivers on the track. But again, look at this. English is pushing back, actually. So, still, Yanni is under attack from a driver. So, he's really having to battle for position here. But look at Frozen. He's already 7/10 into the lead of the race. So, not too bad for himself. Half Snow not getting the best of restarts. He's struggling to keep up with the front 2. So, we might be seeing... This might be the only places that EVR are going to be in at the end of the evening. So, we're going to have to see whether Half Snow can catch up. Look at this. There goes Yannick Casares on Zen as he moves up to P12. The only problem for Yanni is that as he makes his way up the order, the drivers are going to get quicker and quicker and quicker, and they're going to be a lot more aggressive when it comes down to defending. So the big problem for him is to just make sure he does not make a mistake and he doesn't get on the wrong side of a driver. You can see already Frozen over a second into the lead. He's just broken that 1 second gap. And I've got to say, that is really good to see from Frozen. A second. Oh, and it's just come just below that. But he's definitely faster on the straights. Definitely, I think, a setup choice there and setup differences between AERT and EVR. Because you could see Frozen is definitely quicker down the straights. He's a lot quicker down the straights. So I'm thinking he's probably there. Zen gets a 3-second time penalty, the first penalty of the evening. It's going to be interesting who's going to get what penalties as well for post-race to add on to that. But look at this, Half Snow with the DRS open. How much does he close? You can see he just completely crushes that gap down between him and Tom in front. It was at, remember, about 8/10. Now it's down to just sort of 0.3 of a second. So that being such a small gap just proves how strong DRS has been all season long. You know, it proves, especially on this year's game. But look at that. Frozen, 1.8 seconds off into the lead now. So he's found another 0.8 since the start of the lap. So he's really fast in that middle sector. We know he's incredibly fast in the middle sector. He was at least about 0.2 quicker than anyone else in that middle sector, by the way, during qualifying. So he is really on the pace at the moment. But the bad thing for Tom here is, even though he's got better cornering, he hasn't got the straight line speed over Half Snow. As you can see down the pit straight, again, closing in by about 1/4 of a second there. Just down that pit straight alone. So it's a little bit worrying. Yannick Casares. Whoa! And the half spin for Yannick Casares. Losing him time, and those hard tyres are not getting him where he wants to be. He's still in that P12 position, by the way. Now, he's just dropped outside of a second of Matthias. So the problem now for him is he going to be able to pick up DRS or not? David gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. A couple of drivers succumbing to those track limits and those warnings and penalties. Look at this. Look at how much Yanni is pushing, but he's missed that DRS for the back straight here. For that main straight, he's missed this DRS zone, so he's going to be losing time because of that. And there goes Half Snow, by the way, on... And this is a terrible camera angle, but there goes Half Snow on AERT Tom. And now, EVR are on their way to score maximum points. That's what they need, as we saw Wapo as well getting ahead of Aiden for P6. So SET still pushing for their chances. Janus Mayboom as well gets past Tom, and there goes Balaz at the same time. But look at this side-by-side. Whoa, getting very racy here. Still going side-by-side into the penultimate corner. Is Tom going to try and get it? You can see just that understeer hitting his car. That dirty air, it's just not working for Tom at the moment. He's made a mistake. Zen gets another 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. But you can see the top 5 are fully split away from the rest. But for Blaz, he's just over a second behind third. So he's going to be at a bit of risk from Tom. But at the moment, a pretty strong race from, I've got to say, a pretty strong race from EVR at the moment. P1 and P2, they're looking like they're going to be getting their second 1-2 of the season, by the way. Which is absolutely brilliant. I don't think they've ever achieved a 1-2 before as well. So a 1-2 finish, a second one in a single season. I think they'll have the most 1-2 finishes, by the way, out of any team this season. Which is a nice stat to walk away with. And for AERT at the moment, it looks like possibly their hat-trick of victories to join, just to become one of 3 teams to achieve it, might just be disappearing as we speak. But it's a lot going on. Kaname, though, I've been really disappointed with his races. Yeah, there goes Janus Mayboom for P2, ahead of Half Snow, as he now tries to chase the race leader, Frozen. Of course, these two were really facing off in qualifying. When it came down to pole, they were both very close in lap time. But yeah, as I was saying, I think Kaname has been a bit disappointing. His qualifying pace seemed quite good, actually. He was really on pace with the top 6. And since then, he's just fallen away in the race. No moves made, no overtakes, by the way. He's gone backwards, actually, in the grid. He's dropped behind his teammate as well at the same time. So he's dropped back. He's just not been able to push on those hard tyres. The hard tyres not looking like the best of options. It's showing also clearly for Yanni Casares. They're not a working option at the moment for Yanni Casares. Still P12. He's gone now sort of 3-4 laps now in that P12 spot, struggling to make any overtakes. And the gap between P5 and P6 is growing more and more. So at the moment, the chance of him getting up there is going to be quite difficult. If he was to purely try and do it from overtakes, it looks almost impossible for him to actually go and do it. So at the moment, SKG are 1 man down in the points. They're up to 11 points, which is good. But there's still a lot going on as Yanni Casares receives a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. He's done it again. And it's another mistake. There he goes, down the inside. Ooh, and he's getting a bit of racing from the UFRT driver. A little bit of pushing and shoving there. I don't think UFRT will be too happy about that pushing and shoving. Heading down this back straight, he's again dropped over a second behind P10. So he is on the edge of the points, but he's still just in this position. And with that penalty now, that pretty much rules him out of any points, because he's at the moment, he would still be last because none of the top 10 have actually gotten a penalty as of yet. So that's going to be difficult. But I've got to say, Janus Mayboom is not having a good race now. He's just dropped about another 7/10 this lap. And Kaname is in a good battle with Gervais. We saw Gervais had a very difficult qualifying. He's now battling Kaname, and Kaname had a good qualifying, but he's having a bad race, so a bit of an opposite going on there, going different ways. But again, the McLaren just unable to get in front of anybody. But here he goes on Aiden. I think he's had a bit of a rush now. I think he's noticed he needs to start to go for moves. And there he goes, past Aiden. I think he's starting to notice the hard tyres are getting a bit better now and a bit stronger than the mediums. And it goes up to P7, behind his teammate now. But still, it's only up to 12 points this weekend for SET. Proving to be, once again, not a good weekend for third in the championship. They will finish third in the championship, so they will claim some prize money. They will claim part of the prize pool. But I do want to point out here that two of the teams who are in the top 3 in assists are also in the top 3 in no assists. That's EVR and SET. The champions of no assists and EVR in third. OMB were the only outlier in no assists. So it's an interesting one. There goes Yanni Casares down the inside of Mattia. He's trying to make the move. Old hard tyres versus fresh new tyres. And this is one of the world's worst camera angles I think I've ever seen. And there he goes down the inside. When is this camera angle going to end? And you can see Mattia really giving him a battle for position. He's not letting go of this P10 so easily. Look at this. Still going for it. Half Snow as well. Heading into the pits. And that is going to be one of our front runners coming to the pits. First time this evening. I think he's noticing the medium tyres are starting to go off now. And he's going in for that undercut. For Yanni Casares, this isn't good for him. This is not what he wants. He doesn't want the undercut. Because now he's going to have Half Snow coming out on much fresher tyres. And potentially in front of him when it comes down to the pit stops. And quite far in front of him. But there he goes. He comes out behind. But we know Half Snow is roughly about 1.2 seconds quicker than the two drivers in front of him. So he is a lot faster per lap. Aiden Jones gets a 3-second time penalty. So does Steph as well. A couple more drivers receiving penalties. And that's not what they need. Now, especially for Aiden. This will drop him down to P9 in tonight's race. So, out of the points. So, not out of the points, sorry. P9, only 2 points. Only taking 13 points for AERT. But it will be enough, by the way, tonight. For them to finish in... It is enough for them to finish at the moment in... I believe it is enough for them to finish in 5th in the Constructors. And a strong finish to their season. Frozen's still leading. 3 seconds now in the lead. So he's got a penalties distance. Track limits penalties distance at the moment. Between him and the car behind. So he's looking pretty good. But he's coming into the pits now. Following with his teammate. Let's see how much does his teammate actually gain on him. This is the big question. How much does he actually gain? There goes Janus Maybaum going longer. Balaz as well. Pretty much everyone is going longer. Is anybody following him into the pits? I see Yanni Casares. Yanni Casares is following him into the pits. I think Yanni Casares has noticed that the hard tyres are not going to be the way to go for himself as ART David gets another 3-second time penalty. And into the pits, onto another fresh set of hard tyres. Strange choice, I will say, but look at how far behind he's actually come out. Behind Half Snow, he's all the way, he's a whole corner behind. And you can just see he's just going to be absolutely miles behind. How far has he come out behind? He's about 7 seconds behind. He's about 8 seconds behind. They've got 1 lap fresher tyres, but 8 seconds behind. That is a gap that you can't really close too easily. Balaz, I want to talk about Balaz for a second. I've never seen a driver with a quieter race and in such a high position. He's very quiet, sat in that P4 spot for most of this race. Is now Kaname. Gets past his teammate for P4. Quite a few overtakes now being made from Kaname. Quite interesting to see. And as there goes Frozen. Oh my god. I was really worried about what ART David was doing there. But as there goes Frozen up into P10. He's back up into the points already. Already on his outlap. He's already back up into the points. He's charging at these two cars for P10 and P9. And it's interesting to see how much he is pushing. As you can see, everybody's coming in now. Around the inside. This is the most ballsy move I've seen from a driver on their outlap who's in the net race lead. And he's gone and made that move. How far in front is he going to come out in front of Janez Maybaum? He's going to come out miles in front. There's Janez. Has Half Snow jumped Janez Maybaum? Yes, he has. He's been able to jump him as well. Just about, but he's been able to jump him and get a decent gap back to him as well. So, in the end, that's worked very well for Half Snow. He's gotten in front, and that's all he needed to do. Now he's chasing ART David for position. Somehow ART David keeping up and going possibly slightly quicker in the middle sector as well. Well, in the first sector, sorry. But very interesting. Very, very interesting. But already Frozen back up to P5 and he's chasing after the lead. Just to remind you of where Tom is on track. Compared to the leader, Tom has just lost the lead as well to Kaname. But it's 6.7 seconds. Or about 7 seconds now, right? 7 seconds. That's all that Frozen has lost to the race leader. 7 seconds. After one lap on those hard tyres. Absolutely brilliant stuff to see from our pole sitter. His pace is very much undeniable. And down the inside goes Frozen. Good move. Bit of a risky move. But I will say David maybe should have seen that coming from a little bit further back. I would definitely say he should have seen that coming from a little bit further back. But look at this. David is really giving Jannes Mayboom a bit of a problem. He is really giving Jannes Mayboom a bit of a problem. Look at this. Trying to get the grip. DRS. It is going to be a DRS race down towards turn 1. Oh my god. Into turn 1. Moving over really harshly. But look at that. That is the difference between old tyres and fresh tyres. Cannot have the same grip. And there, you see David just went way too deep. Overestimated the grip on his tyres. And he's just lost that position there. But for him, it's not too big of a deal. Because he's got that penalty. And he is on old tyres. So it doesn't really matter for him in this race too much. Lap 13 of 28. Zen gets another 3-second time penalty. Just not going his way at all this week for Zen. Mattia as well gets past Wapo for P3. Nice move there. Yannick Casares. Oh, that was David. Off into the wall. And I think that is AZR's day done. I think they are going to come out. By the way, I already have found out AZR currently will have the most retirements in a season by any team. Shocking. HRT in season 4 finished just 50% of their races. So out of the possible 20 race finishes, they only finished 10 times. Or 11 times. It was 10 or 11 times, I believe. I believe it was 10 times, if I remember correctly. But now, you've got... I mean, what's shocking is how you've had AZR now, back-to-back retirements. You have a possible 26 race finishes, right, in a season. Possible 26 this season. In assists in this 13 race calendar, and they've retired 4 times in the last 2 races, which means they have retired a total. That means they've only got 22 finishes left for their season, and I'm going to pull up how many times they have actually retired this season, which is one thing that's I think very strange. But look at this. Frozen's actually slowed down to help his teammate out with DRS. Interesting to see. Very interesting to see. Fourteen retirements. 14 times they have not finished this season. I've just quickly counted it. 14 times. 14 times, by the way. As David has also retired as well. I missed that for a second, but David has now retired. So, 14 retirements. I mean, they went 2 races in a row. They've got 2 races in a row, that's 4. They had 8 before. They also had another 4 back-to-back, so that's 8. And altogether, I think they've had about 14 retirements, which means they've only finished 12 times this season now. And that is sadly AZR's season finished. That's AZR's season done. They cannot score any more points. Their season is over. PR season ended before this race because they did not have a lineup, and now we've seen the second team's season end, and that is AZR. We know AB as well couldn't race. They shut down, so their season ended. PR's ended, and now AZR's has ended in misery. What could have been, by the way, they were pushing, by the way, for the championship Just a reminder, they were pushing for the Constructors' Championship. In sort of midway through the season. Here comes Janus Mayboom. Oh, and big contact between Half Snow and Janus Mayboom. And I feel a penalty there for Janus Mayboom. I feel like maybe we're going to be seeing some problems there with them. And there goes Jerry Weiss. Whoa! Not giving Aiden Jones much space there at all. But you can see battling going on here over P8 for position. A lot of battling going on here. LR, of course, wanting to take all the points they can. As now Mattia gets a 3-second time penalty for gaining a position, for corner cutting, gaining a position as well. So, yeah, not the smartest of things to do. And for Janus Mayboom, that could also spell the end of his chance to even be on the podium tonight. So, it's not looking like the best of races. The driver that's kind of on his own a bit is Yanni Casares. 4 seconds behind P6, 5 seconds ahead of P8. Very much on his own. Very lonely race at the moment for him. He's just very much driving to the end. Currently, the team is on for 12 points. As it stands, not a lot of points though. But still, it would still be the championship, by the way. As it stands, it would be the Constructors' Championship wrapped up for SKG. English gets another 3-second time penalty. Or gets his first, sorry. My apologies, his first. Jerry Weiss, by the way, has 13 seconds of penalties. You can see Yanni Casares has 3. I was just checking how many he actually has. Everybody's on the hard tyres. So, yeah, this race is quite strange. I will say this race is being quite strange. It's going quite slowly, I will say. This race has been quite a slow race to go by. And I think a big reason for it being a slow race to go by is because of how tense it is. There's so much going on all at once. It feels like every lap is like 5 minutes long because there is just so much happening. And here comes Frozen for the lead once again. He leads this race. To be honest, I didn't really have any doubt in him leading this race. And most likely will bring EVR's second victory of their season. As now Aiden Jones retires from the race. And that is another retirement. Third retirement of the evening. That changes up the order slightly. Does not help AERT because right now LR are taking a very, very solid. They're taking a very nice 13 points as it stands with Janus Mayboom taking 13 points, which will bring them to 85. With Tom down in P7, that means they will come out equal in points, by the way. Yeah, AERT and LR will be equal in points at the end of the season. We've never had that, by the way, at the end of the season, to have two teams on the exact same number of points. We've never had that. Zen gets another 3-second time penalty. He's getting quite a few now in this race. But we've never had two teams end on the exact same points. But we do have an interesting one here. Can Tom catch up a bit more to Yanni Casares? Can he close in? Can he maybe take that P6? Maybe get those 7 points, confirm that 5th? Of course, penalties for Janus Mayboom is going to be the thing that hurts him. And that could be potentially even a 5-second penalty coming his way. I think if we see a 5-second penalty, very much that will drop him down to P5 in tonight's race. So that will be currently 5th out of contention. But they can still get a 6th in the constructors. No prize pool, but it is no prize pool money for them. But it is still P6 in the constructors, possibly even P5. I have hope. I have hope for every team that they'll do well. I really do. And I do hope LR do well because the turnaround from last season, scoring just 12 points in 10 races to now scoring 72 and 12 and on their way to score over 80 points in their season is just such a turnaround. Still nothing close to their Season 3 campaign with multiple podiums. You know, they didn't win a race in that season, but they scored over 150 points that season. Just to point out, they scored more points than EVR did last season. So that's one way to point out as well that how well they did. As Janus Mayboom gets past Kaname for P2 in this race. Here comes Balaz down the inside. There he goes. Past half snow for position. At the moment, SKG very much on their way to claim the championship. But I've got to say, one hell of a close championship at the end of the season. Still 10 laps to go. Anything could happen. Yannick Casares has already proven that risks do kick in. And Tom is also catching, by the way. Tom is catching Yannick Casares down to 3.7 now in this race. If he gets below 3, Yannick Casares will just drop another 2 points, bringing it down to 5. So it's not going to help. So it's going to be 18 points at the end of the evening for SKG at the rate that Tom is closing in on at. We know a couple of teams have been in different positions when it comes down to pace. AERT slower down the straights. But for Tom, this is even better because he's up to P6 now. He's chasing that P5, so possibly they'll come away with 90 points at the end of the season for 5th in the Constructors. So could be very interesting to see. But a lot of this is all theory. But one thing that's not theory is the absolute dominance from Frozen in this race. We've got to talk about the absolute dominance. He hasn't led every lap, but he took pole. I think he has fastest lap as well, and he's every lap he could have possibly led, he has led. He does have fastest lap as well, so at the moment he's on his way to complete a sadly not a Grand Slam. That's disappointing to some degree. I almost, kind of wishing Grand Slam, but he's not going to get the Grand Slam. But he is going to come away with one of the best, finishes of the season, I think, out of any driver, proving his quality over many others. I've got to say, this race very strange on a track that not many people are that good at. He's proven that he can be really good at this track, so I have massive respect for the way he's driven today. Going on to lap 20, not many laps left. Janus Maybohm far in the distance, 3.9 seconds behind, closing in slightly, but not enough at the moment. Jerry Weiss gets another 3-second time penalty. He's got to be up to, I don't even know, how many penalties does he have now in this race? He now has 16 seconds. He's crawling up to that. 16 seconds. He's crawling up to that disqualification at the moment. He might get disqualified if he gets 2 more penalties, I believe. 2 or 3 more penalties. So he's got to be careful now. Got to be very careful in this race. Also, Tom has almost caught up within that 3-second time window of Yannick Casares. So Yannick Casares could be looking at his way down another position, dropping from 10 points now down to just 7. So he's dropping 3 points in this race. So still 20 points for SKG at the end of the evening. Still a strong, to be fair, still a strong finish at the end of their evening to finish with 20 points. But still they could be dropping those, it could be 23, still dropping those 3 points, not what you want. But it's kind of, I don't want to be mean here, because I know this is going to sound mean, but it's back-to-back weekends of a bit of misery for SKG. They've been a bit off for the pace, so 2-3 tenths off for the pace at the moment. In the last 3 races, they've been sort of 2-3 tenths off the pace of the race leaders. They've kind of fallen backwards. They were quickest. For the first 8 races of the season, I'm going to be honest, they were fastest team on the grid. And then round 9 and 10 kind of got a bit more in the mix with EVR, SET pushing up there as well. AERT also coming in with a couple of decent finishes. Kind of a couple of teams coming in there, kind of getting in that sort of one really good finish, that one really good result to their season. They had that sort of one really good result to their season. They were going, we've got that. But now, we've seen in the last 3 races, they've not been able to exactly keep up with the race leaders. They've dropped off of it. I think part of that could come down to they had that lead, so the pressure was a bit more off to win. But I think the same thing at the same time, I don't want to make this sound like criticism, but in 6 races, they've scored a lot less points in the last 6 races. Compared to the first 6 races to the last 6 races, they've scored a lot less points. And it's not, as a team, it's the worst place to be in, is when you start scoring less points. I think that's the worst time, is to be scoring less points. Everyone knows that they're not. They've kind of fallen into a bit of a problem this season. I think everyone agrees that they've fallen into a little bit of a problem this season, where a lot more of it has been hope towards the end of the season than entirely skill. To be fair, I think quite a few people know that. In the first 6 races of the season, by the way, they scored 106 points in the first 6 races. If you take into account the last 6 races, round 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, and 7, the last 6. But if we were to say this is where they finish at the moment, so going back to round 8, going back those 6 races, they haven't, to the previous 6, it's not been the same. This is excluding fastest laps and poles, by the way, just to point out. This is excluding fastest laps and poles. But they've not exactly been up to their sort of standard. They scored 104 points. So they've scored 2 points less, true, but they've actually, the main reason for that is because their second drivers picked up in performance more than anything. Their first drive, that's their biggest letdown at the start of the season, was their second driver. Their second driver got DNF, P10, P2, DNF, P8 in the first 6 races, versus in the last 6 it's been P4, P7, P2, P17 and P13. So realistically, more points. Their second driver scored more points in the last 6 races. So when you look at that, it's it balances out a bit more. I think that's the good thing. They've gotten both drivers working more, but overall, still score less points, yet have a better average. To have not just one driver scoring 80% of the points or 85% of the points, having the second driver scoring more like 35% in these final couple of races has been really important for SKG, but it just shows that they've had a bit of a drop-off in performance. If you look at the last 2 races, I do have a graph for this, but sadly I can't put on the screen because it's too big and it'd take up the whole screen. In the last 3 races, SKG haven't actually been the quickest. From round 10 to 12, they've not been the quickest team. They've actually dropped down to being 3rd fastest on track, with AERT and EVR actually jumping in front of them, by the way. Both EVR and AERT have jumped in front of them. Tom, by the way, overtakes Yannick Casares for P5. Whoa, goes deep. Bit of carnage going on, and there goes Tom up into P5 in this race, and a great move from AERT Tom up into the top 5. There goes Yannick Casares. This is again championship stuff here for Yannick Casares. It's so important for him to actually get this finish, but he's not going to be able to get it, I don't think, because look at that. Tom's already starting to wander off into the distance a bit more. The tyres have gone on Yannick Casares' car. I think they've started to go a bit, and I think he's just lost that sort of grip and that momentum. And I think I'm going to see a battle between these two a lot. These two are going to battle a huge amount, don't get me wrong. But it all comes down to these final few laps. This final few laps of the season. I wanna take these final few laps to take into sort of account the season we've had. Yannick Casares gets another 3-second time penalty. That's going to drop him down to P7. So he is now really hurting his chances because he's just dropped another 2 points to drop down to P7 now. So he's just dropped those extra 2 points in this race. Not what he needed at all. Tom also gets a 3-second time penalty, but he's going to stay in P5 at the moment. So for Yannick Casares, though, dropping another 2 points. He's just dropped half his points from this race from 10 points. He's just dropped down to 5. So only 18 points now for SKG this evening. Not great. Down to 18 points, dropping another 2 points. The drop-off is crazy. To drop from 23 down to 18 is a bit of a drop. Bit of a drop indeed. But it's 29 points for EVR, 29, 30, and 31 with fast lap and pole. So it is 13 points closer, and it does bring the gap down to 21 points in the Constructors' Championship between SKG and EVR. Unless Half Snow can make an overtake on Balaz and make that overtake and get an extra 2 points, bringing it down from 21 down to 19 points, possibly bringing in the chance for the championship to possibly swing their way. It might swing their way indeed, so we'll have to see how that goes. But like I was saying, I think in these last few laps, I do want to take into account how brilliant this season has been, especially here in assists. For me, it has been either the second best or the best season of assists. And even including Season 1 with the nostalgia, Season 2, every other season, this season has been either the second best or the best season. To me, I'm going to be honest, I think this season has been, I'd probably say, the second best season of assists we've ever had. Yes, close to championship, very true. But the amount of teams that won the first 6 races of last season, 5 teams winning the first 6 races of last season, I don't think can be replicated this, wasn't replicated this season. How close it was last season as well wasn't replicated. But, I think this is definitely the second best season we've ever had. And in all honesty, one of the best seasons I've ever witnessed in any league. It has been so amazing, as there is just 3 laps of FRLT assists season 5 to go, just 3 laps remaining, 1 stewards report, 1 reporting period, 1 stewards report, and that will be it. The season will be over, and a part of me, I am going to say now, a part of me is quite sad that the season is coming to an end, because you can see action is still happening on track, and this is the action I'm going to miss for the next month or so while we're on break. But I'm going to miss it because, of course, every season is special for a different reason, and this season is special as well to me. Every season is special, but they're all special in different ways, and this season is definitely going to hold. I'm going to hold quite close to my heart for how good this season's been and the absolute quality that we've had on the grid. The brilliant battles, the sportsmanship, absolutely everything has been brilliant. But we've got to look to this battle over P3 now between Half Snow and Balaz for the podium. Final spot on the podium, final chance at a podium this season. Will EVR achieve their 1-2 finish, especially because if Janus Mebom gets reported, he most likely will be getting a 5-second penalty for his incident with Half Snow. And I think Half Snow will also be blaming, I think Half Snow is going to have a lot of blame towards Janus Mebom over potentially losing the championship purely over that one reason. So, I think there's going to be a lot of arguments post race. 2 laps to go of the season. The 2 final laps. 11 kilometers. 11 kilometers of racing to go. Just 11 kilometers left here in COTA before the end of the season. I cannot believe I'm saying that. Just 11 kilometers. And then we go into the final 5.5 before the end of the season, which I have no words for at all. I have no words for that. Steph steals the fastest lap of the race from Frozen, going on to the final few laps. Bit of disappointment, but in the end, it is still enough, I think, for Frozen to take it as a very good day in the end. But Half Snow's over a second behind. I don't think he's going to catch now. I think he's burnt out his tyres just a little bit too much. See a lot of movement on the rear of his car, but he should climb up to P2 in this race, P3 in this race, with post-race penalties most likely with Janus Mebom. Mattia as well, battling with Jerry Rice over position. Look at this, side by side. The battle over the lower points positions really coming in hefty. And Harsnow's had a bit of a moment there. He's had a bit of a moment. And we're now onto the final lap here in COTA. For the moment, I just want to watch Frozen on this final lap. Because this season, I'm going to sum it up. 13 races. And I'm going to sum this up very easily. 13 races of brilliance this season. Of some of the best racing I've seen across the in excess of 15 leagues I have commentated in. As Harsnow gets a 3-second time penalty, that confirms he will finish P4 at the moment. Oh my god, the one thing he didn't need to do. But in the end, this has been the closest championship battle we've had. The best championship battle I think we've had. But I think ultimately, has had some of the best racing I've had in any league I've commentated in. Like I said, over 15 leagues I've done over my last 3 years, over my last over 3.5 years. And I'm never going to forget that. As Tom goes down the inside, the battle for P4 is really on. They're dragging each other off track. Absolutely battling for position. But absolutely brilliant. But look at this. Down the inside goes Tom again. Whoa, and he's gone too deep. But we've got to look to the final corner. Frozen. He will take the flag and he will win in COTA for the final time in FRLT Assists Season 5. And what a victory it is. Janus Mebom finishes in second. Balaz finishes in third. Then we've got Harsnow who's going to finish in fourth. Tom ahead. Yannick Saris in sixth. Going down to seventh. But look at that. Kaname finishes in fourth in the end. After penalties, he finishes in fourth. So a good finish for him. Tom, of course, retired, not meaning to. So he will be brought back. He will be brought back up to where he was, which was P5 he would have been in the end. But what a race it's been. What a final race it's been. Congratulations to Frozen EVR on another win this season. Getting in another victory, their third win. But, it's a very interesting season, and I've got to say, one of the best seasons I've ever watched. Yeah, I don't think I've got many more words to say about this season because of just how brilliant it's been. But yeah, absolutely brilliant victory from Frozen. Absolutely brilliant win in COTA, adding another trophy to EVR's collection, adding another one to their assists collection of 3 wins. Another winner's trophy. They get to add another one. Very, very nice for themselves. But let's go through the order of the grid. From pole to victory, it is Frozen. Then it is Janus Mebom, Balaz, Kaname, Yannick Casares, Wapo, Mattia, Jere, Rice. Then it is Steph, Zen, English, Half Snow, which I'm not sure why he's down in P12. I think he retired too. There's clearly been a bit of a problem there because he's down in P12. I'm not sure why. P13. And then our retirements being Aiden Jones, David, and Red Dragon. So in the end, that is that. I'm going to do something though. We are going to have a lovely interview with the managers. And hopefully we should be able to get a lovely interview with them. So we'll see what we can get from these guys to begin with. Yeah, it's what an end to the season. I've got no words for the end of the season. No words at all. It's so difficult for me to sum up in some sort of way the season as a whole. It's exceedingly difficult for me to just sort of say how the season's been. If you get what I mean, it's just very, very difficult. I don't think anybody could sum up a season like we've had. So, yeah, that's one of the interesting sides. So we'll get everyone in. But again, I have no words for this season. Beyond belief, beyond belief. This season. For everything, absolutely brilliant. Hopefully we'll get an interview or two from the lovely managers. Maybe we'll hear from them, maybe we won't. So we're waiting to see that. But yeah, absolutely brilliant season. I just have no words. I don't really have any other words for this season, to be honest. It's absolutely brilliant. So we'll see whether anybody is alive to do an interview. Otherwise, we will probably not get one at the moment. It doesn't look like we are going to get one, which is disappointing. So we're going to have to wait and see. I'll wait another minute or two and then see whether the managers are alive at all. But yeah, so if we do get an interview, it'd be quite nice if we do get an interview or not. So yeah, very, very interesting season in the end. Very, very interesting season at the end of it. But yeah, I don't believe we're going to be getting any interviews this evening, which is a bit disappointing. It is a bit disappointing, but I don't have many complaints because let me just point this out. This has been such a brilliant season. This is literally gonna be my last this is gonna be my last sort of words for this season. And about this season. I will forever remember this season. I will forever remember season 5 assists. The absolute brilliant season it was. I think probably the best season. I think probably championship-wise, the best season we've ever had. So yeah, ultimately, yeah. Also, massive thanks to everybody, especially you guys who watch every week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching, for liking these streams, for supporting the channel, supporting the league. It means so much to me and everybody here at FRLT for the support. So if you guys, so yeah, in the end, thank you guys so much for, thank you so much, everyone. Just thank you, so much. I hope you guys have had a fun time today, and we'll be back very soon, for no assists on Friday. We will be back for no assists on Friday. So in the end, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also click on that notification bell to know about all the content we do, from short streams and videos. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for everything this season here in Assists. And I hope to see you guys once again. And goodbye. Oh, with a... Look at this! Look at the mounting, and it is a safety car! Here comes Mika into slow corner. Whoa! Almost! And away we go here in the Netherlands. Got F leading down towards the next couple. Oh, it is! Oh my god! Whoa! Bit of a season as Nano wins in Monza for FRLT Tier 1 of 4. And